was like, I mean, everybody was like, it was so
COVID-19 pandemic. So, and when I mean very first press conference, I mean inside of chambers. So I just want everybody to silence their phones, please, if you don't mind. And just to go over the run of show, we're gonna begin our press conference with the City of Miami Mayor Francis Suarez, followed by Miami-Dade County Mayor Daniela Levine Cava, and the program will be closed by the Interim Executive Director of the Women's Fund, Ms. Mara Mayer. So, Mr. Mayor, take it away.
Thank you so much. First of all, it's nice to be in air conditioning. Yeah. But we're here today, and I want to thank my counterpart in Miami-Dade County, Mayor Daniela Levine Cava, who, we have a healthy, positive competition on some of this stuff, which is who gets in front. And she's done a magnificent job. I mean, obviously, Jane Gilbert's someone that we care very deeply about, who was our Chief Resiliency Officer for many years and helped put us on the map in terms of resiliency. So to see the county being proactive on this issue and our mayor tapping a talent from former city talent is really something that's special for us. As we know here on National Heat Awareness Day, something that unfortunately goes often unnoticed and is under the radar. Since 1990, this is a startling statistic, 99 children have died in Florida from being left behind in a hot car, 99, making us number 2 in the country. And that's something that obviously needs to change immediately. In conjunction with the announcement of our awareness campaign alongside the Women's Fund, and thank you for being here from the first moment, behave yourself. The City of Miami is donating 72 air conditioning units to low-income expectant mothers and senior residents. We did an initiative just a few years ago where we installed in some county facilities air conditioning units, and we oftentimes take for granted what some members of our community are going through. And I know that's something that the county mayor has also really focused on, is trying to create a more equitable community. This awareness campaign is bringing us attention and applying data-driven metrics towards improving Miami's extreme heat preparedness. We're engaging with stakeholders to collect citywide heat data in order to create a Miami heat map, and no, that is not the basketball team. And we're working with Google to improve the data we have available on the city's tree canopy, which of course is a major dissipator of heat. We joined the International Street Heat Resilience Alliance to ensure we're exercising the best practices available to us, and we have implemented the Building Efficiency 305 programming order to help residents and businesses improve their energy efficiency that will keep them cool during the summer and help them save money in the long run. We've been very blessed. This has been actually a pretty pleasant year. I was in my backyard so far, exactly, so far so good. And we're hoping that it remains that way. And actually, I was in New York a couple of days this week, and it was actually hotter in New York last week than it was in Miami last week. So we're very fortunate. But as the summer, as the summer begins, we know that the most vulnerable in our community oftentimes are going to be suffering in silence. And they're suffering in silence because they don't have a voice. And so thanks to the mayor and our partnership, and of course, all of you who are here, they will have a voice, and they will have organizations that care, that are working proactively to try to make their quality of life better. So thank you so much, and I'll just say very quickly in Spanish, if that's okay. Que estamos aquí hoy en el Día Nacional de la Toma de Conciencia sobre el Calor, para resaltar algo que muchas veces pasa inadvertido. Desde el 1990, 99 niños han muerto en la Florida y han fallecido porque fueron olvidados dentro de los automóviles. Y somos número 2 en la nación para esa absurda cifra. Junto al anuncio de nuestra campaña, tenemos el Fondo de Mujeres, que hoy en la ciudad de Miami están donando 72 aires acondicionados a personas de bajos recursos, de la tercera edad o mujeres embarazadas. Gracias a ellos. Dale la mano. Y es un honor estar aquí con la alcaldesa del condado de Miami-Dade, que empezó esta iniciativa y que nombró a alguien que era parte de nuestra familia, que nos ayudó mucho en resaltar nuestras ideas y nuestros planes con respecto a resiliencia, y nos puso en la orientación nacional e internacional y respeto internacional por los planes nuestros. Así que estoy muy agradecida que Jane Gilbert viene aquí en otra capacidad para ayudar a la alcaldesa para esta iniciativa tan importante. Desafortunadamente, muchas de las personas en nuestra comunidad no tienen una voz, no tienen la habilidad de venir aquí, ni tienen un carro, y sabemos lo opresivo que puede ser el calor durante el verano en nuestra ciudad. Así que estoy muy honrado a trabajar con el Fondo de Mujeres, conjunto con mujer número 1 en el condado, después de mi esposa, la alcaldesa. Ella. Así que es mi gran honor poder presentar a la alcaldesa de la ciudad, del condado de Miami, Daniela Levin Cava. Gracias.
Gracias, alcalde. So thank you very much, everyone, for being here, and so grateful to be doing this alongside our city mayor, Francis Suarez, who wants to help. So we're so glad. But we are here for this very serious topic, extreme heat, extreme heat. And not only do people suffer in silence, but it is a silent killer. It is a silent killer, not something you can visualize like so many of the other dangers. So very, very important that the Women's Fund is lifting up this important information campaign. So kudos to the Women's Fund for bringing us National Heat Awareness Day, and we join with you to address this and make sure that we are ready and that we protect people. I also want to thank Rebecca Wakefield from Commissioner Raquel Regalado's office for being present. And all right, take all the credit. Okay. We are one county. All right. We're also joined here today, as the mayor said, by the Chief Heat Officer, Jane Gilbert. She was the Chief Resilience Officer. And before that, she helped to write and bring the 100 Resilient Cities program to Miami-Dade County, and has led in so many other ways. But today, especially, we're focusing on how heat affects pregnant women. You know, I was pregnant, and it was very hot, and I lived in a home without air conditioning, if you can believe it, at the time. I can't believe that. Fortunately, I had a pool, and I would come home from work every day and get into the pool. Just remembering this terrible thing. And obviously, I was a person of privilege and a person of means. But so many have no choices. And they live in boxes that should be air-conditioned but are not. And we need to know especially how this heat affects pregnant women, how it affects babies and young children, that have a harder time adapting to the heat, the babies and the young children. And so we need to invest in measures that will lessen their impacts, along with the older folks and those who have disabilities and so on, and those who are working in the heat, a very critical piece of it. So, you know, in Miami-Dade County, we right now have 7 days per year where the heat index is 105. But it is expected that by 2050, it will be 88 days annually where the heat is at basically an unsurvivable level for so many. And just yesterday, there was a new report from the World Meteorological Organization that warns that in at least one of the next 5 years, we will temporarily reach 2.7 degrees higher than pre-industrial times. So for anyone who's still thinking that climate change isn't real, think again. This increase in temperature is what the Paris climate change is trying to prevent. And of course, our president is doubling down, and I'm very proud that Miami-Dade County did support the Paris Climate Treaty all along, and we stand together to fight this extremely real and growing threat, and it is one of the unique ones that affects our community, and we have a unique role to play in addressing it. We need to innovate strategies and adapt in the years ahead and show the world what we're up to. So, unas palabritas en español también. Estamos en el condado de Miami-Dade y espera que el número de días con más de 105 grados aumente de 7 días al año a 88 días al año en el 2050, que es increíble e insoportable. Para enfrentar este problema, hace poco compartimos el nuevo equipo de trabajo para la salud durante el calor y nombramos a la jefa de medidas contra el calor, Jane Gilbert, la primera del condado, el país y del mundo. Estamos desarrollando un plan contra el calor integral que quiere brindar sombra a las paradas de autobús, incorporar pavimento frío y agregar árboles que den sombra en todo el condado. Y esta nueva campaña tiene un interés especial en las mujeres embarazadas y nos ayudará a garantizar la seguridad y salud de las futuras mamás durante la temporada de calor, y gracias a Women's Fund para nombrar este problema y trabajar con nosotros. Now I'd like to invite Jane Gilbert, our Chief Heat Officer, up to just say a few words because she is really our expert. And I did not say in English, she was the first in the entire world to be a Chief Heat Officer. Oh, okay, Women's Fund first. Okay, all right.
Good morning. How's that for the height? Well, I'm going to start in Spanish because soy una gringa latina. Y no voy a traducir ahora a mí misma, pero después si alguien de los amigos de los medios quisieran hablar conmigo, estoy encantadísima. So, yes, my name is Maria Orla Meyer, and I am representing the Women's Fund Miami-Dade, and that's a lot of people. Members of our board are here. We have so many community partners that we work with. And because of all this connectivity and collaboration, I am here to tell you a short story. I'm going to tell you a story of some of my colleagues who are here today and the staff, speaking with me with Opalaka Development Corporation and with Catalyst about our pillar of economic mobility. Women's Fund is based on 4 very basic pillars that help us to keep things simple because life is complicated. So if we're going to support women and girls in our community, we look at economic mobility, we look at leadership, we look at freedom from violence. I knew that was going to happen. And he is like that, right? Yeah. And we look at health and well-being. So when we were, thank you, I appreciate it, Mr. Mayor. So as we were looking at economic mobility, those 2 organizations who are on the streets with the people, with our community, told us that they were working on heat. It was prejudicing the development economically of their citizens that they were trying to serve. And so we said, there is something going on here. And we spoke with people like Jane Gilbert at the City of Miami and Alyssa Farina at the City of Miami. We spoke to Dr. Amy Clement from the University of Miami, and one thing led to another, to another. So many people are represented here today because they worked collaboratively towards a solution. The first Thursday of every month, the Impact Collaboratives come together. What is that? You're all invited, first Thursday, 9 to 10:30, and we look at one of those pillars and we convene experts to talk about what's going on, emerging needs, when you're focusing with a gender lens. We put on a gender lens, looking at women and girls, and what are the needs? The need was health and how it was affecting women and girls in our community. Dr. Cheryl Holder of Florida Physicians for Climate Action, thank you, has an amazing TED Med that I recommend to everybody. She spoke, as well as Dr. Clement spoke, gave a keynote. We had Alyssa, and we had Mayra Cruz from Catalyst, and we also had an amazing senior researcher from Human Rights Watch, Skye Wheeler, who's not here today because she's in Washington with her brand new baby. Human Rights Watch has a women's rights division, and they were happened to be studying the effects, adverse effects of extreme heat on pregnancy. The facts are there. Extreme heat is happening, and we pulled together this campaign. We left that Impact Collaborative We're invited by Dr. Clement to come to the Advisory Council for the city, and they're another everyday hero who I hear does not like to be called out, the man in uniform here to our left. Chief Robert Evia said, "That's interesting, I get it, can we speak next week?" And he continued convening public health officials, communicating with the county, the city and the county, everybody working together. It's a longer story, but envision a lot of people behind me and a lot of people in front of us who will be positively affected because we were able to put together this campaign. All those bright minds together said, let's find a place to focus. Let's help our friends from the media help us to focus by doing something for National Heat Awareness Day, which is today. We developed this factually based campaign working together, and it was sponsored by and underwritten by another amazing community collaborator. And they're with us today, the Baptist Health Foundation of South Florida. What would we do without all of our community partners together? So that's a story, that's how we got here, but it will never end. When we do an impact collaborative, I always say, we'll do one on human trafficking every year, and we're gonna do it again because it changes, because there's always something new. There's always something that we can do. And I'm a good storyteller, but I'm not that great a storyteller. I brought somebody else who might impress you a little bit more, and I'm gonna see if it's okay if we roll something on the screens, and then I'm gonna come right
Louis,
back
go
after
ahead and
that.
play the video.
So I think that your Women's Fund and I have a lot in common. And that's why I'm with you here today. Collectively, you are on a mission that I share to create a community where health and well-being, power and possibility aren't limited by gender, race, or socioeconomic status. It is essential to apply a gender lens to find solutions to most problems. And I see that you're doing that. And I congratulate you for that. You know, Miami is in a position to lead in both research and in action. And I'm thrilled to see that the Women's Fund Miami-Dade, in collaboration with your local government, community partners, and stakeholders, will be launching a major campaign on May 28th, National Heat Awareness Day, to drive life-saving calls to action on how we can and must provide care for mothers-to-be, to ensure that they have the tools, the knowledge, and the resources they need to empower themselves to be protected from the negative outcomes of extreme heat. It's just brilliant that the gender lens is being added to health advisories and that public and private sectors are working together. I understand that a lot more can be done and needs to be done. I look forward to hearing from you about what you've accomplished. I mean, you have some great activists and leaders in Miami, and frankly, we need more women in climate leadership. Women are leading climate. You know, in my Fire Drill Fridays, I always see that there are more women than by about 2/3, and they tend to be older women too. And it makes me very proud. Women are more affected, more impacted by the climate crisis. We bear the brunt of it, and we're also at the forefront of the solutions. So we need even more women in climate leadership positions. Maybe some of our greatest new leaders will come from your grade schools, right? High schools or your universities. You, for better or worse, you are at ground zero for climate change in the United States. And I, for one, want to see your beautiful city shine and thrive and survive, not just for myself, but for my grandchildren and theirs. You're also on the leading edge of the U.S. in being a beautiful melting pot of diversity and cultures, a rich and creative center from where I can envision better solutions arising. Solutions that address the needs of all of our citizens, inclusive and representative.
And just before we call up Jane Gilbert, I just want to say that I was so moved that I was thinking, if it's okay, to donate $10,000 from Mayor's Poverty Initiative to this initiative. So, thank you, Jane.
So, Jane, if you could say a few words. We're also going to have the Haitian Creole translator for Mayor Levine Cava, but our County Chief Heat Officer Jane Gilbert. Take it away.
Thank you, and thank you, Mayor Suarez. What a great announcement. It's so nice to be where what feels like home. And really, my awareness around the heat risks, increasing heat risks, started here. And it was through the outreach that Alyssa Farina and my team did in neighborhoods throughout Miami that we really realized that heat was bubbling up as an equal concern to sea level rise and storm risk related to climate change. So thank you, the Women's Fund, for being a leader, for pushing forward this collaboration. I really see the city and the county's collaboration just getting stronger and stronger every day. And there are a lot of actions we're very aligned on, which is, the commitments to climate action. And my new saying is climate action is health and equity. There was a piece that came out today that the expected health impacts, annual health impacts of climate change are over $800 billion related to heat, vector-borne diseases, et cetera. So this is economics, folks. We need to move on, and thank you to our mayors who have committed to deep reduction in carbon emissions. We're gonna be forming, in my new role, we're gonna be forming a heat health task force, including many of the stakeholders and partners that have been mentioned here today, from our health. We have Baptist Health here, we have Alex Villock, we have Dr. Cheryl Holder, who I'm co-chairing it with, who's a physician who's worked in and served vulnerable communities her whole career. Educational groups, University of Miami, Dr. Amy Clement, and then also at FIU, Dr. Tiffany Troxler have been doing great work helping us understand where our urban heat islands are and how it's impacting. That's how we can respond where the needs are most. We're gonna be working like the city, putting in improved shade structures in our bus stops, cool pavements, expanding and accelerating the county's existing tree planting programs like the city has. Post-Hurricane Irma, our now CRO for the city, Alan Dodd, and his team in Public Works have been actively planting hundreds of thousands of trees since Hurricane Irma. And our partners, Oshkosh, have been partnering with the county's Adopt a Tree and getting fruit trees out to people's homes so they not only get shade, but food and can reduce their utility costs from that shade. We need to, some of the solutions that result in climate action will also address this health and equity. Retrofitting homes, affordable housing for more efficiency can bring cooler, safer, healthier environments that are more affordable. We can, by planting trees, you're absorbing carbon out of the atmosphere, you can cool. It can be 35 degrees cooler under a shaded tree canopy than in an open paved parking lot. You can make a huge difference on the increasing of heat by planting trees. It also absorbs water and helps with our flood risks. So trees, and retrofit, and help us address our substandard housing across the county in partnership with the city here and many of the partners in this room. I look forward to this increased continued collaboration. To your point, Maria, we'll be coming back each year on National Heat Awareness Day and talking about the next progress on heat and climate action. So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Jane. So now if any of you have any questions, like we said at the beginning, we have our emergency manager here, Robert Evia. We also have our Chief Resilience Officer, Alan Dodd. If you have any questions, this is the time to ask them. And there's also a Haitian Creole translator. She can come up now to translate some of the mayor's remarks. Thank you so much. Then we'll do the Q&A.
Good morning. My name is Cassandra Arnold, Director of Constituent Services and spokesperson for Haitian Affairs for Mayor Levine Cava. Bonjour, nom c'est Cassandra Arnold, Directeur de Service Résidentiel et Directeur des Affaires Haïtiennes. Dans le county Miami-Dade, nous prédit chalet a monté plus haut à 105 degrés, sorti dans 7 à 88 jours par année jusqu'à 2050. Pour nous résoudre le problème, nous faisons créer un nouveau groupe qui a aidé nous avec chalet. Nous nommons premier chef officier pour aider nous avec le problème. Nous c'est Jane Gilbert, premier officier chalet dans le pays. Nous avons développé un plan complet pour chalet. Nous avons installé bagay qui a bay nous l'ombrage dans la station autobus. Nous avons installé bagay pour faire atterrir frais. Et puis ajouter dans pied bois à couverture nous tout Miami-Dade. L'important nous informer public là sur nos nouvelles campagnes qui concentrées sur femmes haïtiennes, femmes enceintes pour nous capables de gagner une plus bonne santé pendant la saison chaleur. Merci.
Thank you all. Does anybody have any questions? Go ahead. When you say the mayor, you mean Mayor Suarez?
Right, the heat index is calculated by the National Weather Service. So once the heat index is high, Miami-Dade County Emergency Management, City Miami Emergency Management notified, and then the heat awareness plan is activated. So in discussion with Miami-Dade County, I don't want to speak for them, the county emergency managers in here, but in discussion with them, measures as cooling centers such as opening libraries, opening up facilities within Miami-Dade County in the city. We spoke earlier about parks facilities, areas where people can find a cooling area would put in place. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, when we get to heat indexes of 105 or above, there are health warnings that are issued through the county Office of Emergency Management out, and the National Weather Services also does that through their general releases. Absolutely.
I love when the city and the county come together. It's so amazing. And they come together for women, so it's even a bigger thing. I'm just really moved. And I'm also moved at what the city's doing. Shout out to Alyssa. She's really charging forward with Alan on the GHG plan. And in the last engagements, which is, wow, we have engagement, like they are like proof in community engagement. They've held, I don't even know how many at this point, GHG plan community engagement meetings. And they're very open about, gaps. And they're trying to wrestle with trees, how to integrate it and calculate it and value it and really charge forward in it. And I know the county's having some initiatives right now on doing tree inventories and things of that nature, which they've pointed to at some of these GHG plan community engagement meetings. How could the county support the cities more closely to maybe set values on trees properly? And really not so much just plant, know what we have so we can protect what we have and then plant. How can the county get more involved based on the relationship with trees and heat and support its municipal partners?
So the county is already collaborating with the Office of Resilience and Sustainability to align both our greenhouse gas reduction plans together. And so actually, Alan just shared with me that Google is now opening an open platform just this morning on tree canopy, urban heat island, and income vulnerability. The county has a map already, but it hasn't been updated on an ongoing basis, frequent enough. So that if we can get an annual update on tree canopy and urban heat islands, then we can monitor progress. And that will be countywide, that could be drilled down to a city level. So we can absolutely help, and the county has a full-time person that is charged with our greenhouse gas inventory, so they've been providing a lot of technical assistance back and forth. So
Yeah, and Alan can touch on what we're doing here in the city related to greenhouse gas reductions.
Yeah, so as far as trees, the initiative you asked, it's part of the Google Insights Explorer, or Environmental Insights Explorer. And so it's still being developed, but basically using Google Earth, you're able to calculate the exact number of trees within the city and figure out areas that you have, you're not dense enough compared to the population or compared to the heat indexes, so that you can start targeting tree plantings. So we know right now, based on the data we're seeing, that we're about 17.9% canopy throughout the city, but it's really different in parts of the city. So we can start targeting areas. As we look at our beautification program, we plant more than 4,000 trees every year. We can start targeting areas that need it most. So it's a great tool to use. As I said, right now, we're looking at our GIS platform where we've already mapped out the trees in the city to see how accurate it is. And then it'll give us a very good assessment of where we are, and we can measure where we're going over the course of the next 10, 15, 20 years.
Good morning. How are you? First of all, thank you for everything that you're doing. It's very moving and amazing. I do have one question in terms of the heat factor in Miami is very big, and we all know that. But one of the biggest problems in climate change is also carbon dioxide emissions, which is cars in most of the part, which Miami is very dependent on. So my question is there any initiative for pedestrians in the city? Because as we know, Miami has become very, very dangerous when it comes to pedestrians and the national numbers. So I was wondering if you guys are planning something in terms of pedestrian transit in the most populated areas in Miami to prevent not only the heat strokes, but also the emission of carbon dioxide in the environment.
So as part of our greenhouse gas plan, we're trying to address that in a couple different ways. The first thing is we have a strategy that will be part of it to try and get people out of single occupancy vehicles, get them into public transit. We have to improve our public transportation system and make it more easy for people to use it. Something called the walkability city. We need to improve the sidewalk areas and make it so that instead of getting in a car and driving 15 minutes, the things that you need are located within a 10 or 15-minute walk. So particularly around transit-oriented development, you can achieve those goals. We are looking at more micro-mobility options, again, to give people an option than getting into a vehicle. And finally, looking specifically at greenhouse gas reductions, how do we incentivize people to switch over to electric vehicles? And the way you do that is you need to have greater charging infrastructure, make it easier to use it as an alternative to a gas-powered vehicle. So these are all different parts of the greenhouse gas plan. And for those of you who are have some other ideas, we are still in the public comment period until next Tuesday. If you have some ideas that we can try to incorporate as we finalize that plan.
One more question, anybody? Over here.
Good morning. Thank you so much. My name is Gloria Romero Roses, and I'm the chair of the Women's Fund Board. I wanted to ask from a practical standpoint, I'm also a former owner-operator of an assisted living facility. So I was required to have my business continuity plan with emergency management plan, and that was something that was reviewed on an annual basis by my local fire department. So I would encourage you as you go forth in applying some of these, if you will, actionable items from research, is to embed within that emergency management planning process with all of our facilities like assisted living and nursing homes. And frankly, it could be applied even within the schools and other, if you will, public partners, because we already have those planning mechanisms internalized. So if this data can then flow to all of those entities, then it could now further enhance and strengthen the community's resilience to this particular issue and not have to recreate any new infrastructure.
Thank you. Do you want to add anything? All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming. And if you want to go on our YouTube channel to watch this again, you're more than welcome to. And we'll be here, whatever you need. Thank you so much.
Thank you.